Dr. Elara Vance sat on the cold polymer bench at Gate 47 of Earthport Central, sipping lukewarm synth coffee, while her daughter Kaya dozed with her head on Elara's lap. The terminal bustled with delayed passengers, robotic janitors, and glowing signs in multiple galactic languages, flickering between Earth standard and interstellar codes. Their connecting flight to Europa Colony had been delayed for the third time due to a solar flare. Nina, common inconvenience in her line of work. Still, she welcomed the pause, a rare stillness in a life otherwise stretched thin between raising Kaya and working shuttle routes to pay for her daughter's education. The overhead AI announcer chimed. Flight 778 to Europa delayed another 45 minutes. We apologize for the inconvenience. Elara sighed. Her tablet vibrated, alerting her to a half-dozen work messages. She ignored them. For now, it was just her and Kaya. She stroked her daughter's curls absent-mindedly, letting the static energy hum against her palm. That's when she noticed him, a small boy, maybe 7 or 8, stood alone near a maintenance corridor just beyond the security bots. He was hugging himself, head down, wearing a sleek graphite-colored suit embedded with faint, glowing lines, definitely not standard children's wear. His eyes darted around, not in boredom, but fear. His lips moved as if he were talking to someone. But there was no calm link in his ear. Elara's maternal instincts kicked in. She gently shifted Kaya onto the bench and rose to her feet, keeping her eyes on the boy. A maintenance drone buzzed past him, and he flinched violently as if it might attack him. She approached slowly, hands visible. Hey, sweetheart, are you lost? The boy looked up sharply. His eyes were a deep, unnatural shade of silver. His gaze locked with hers, cautious but intelligent, far too intelligent for his age. He said nothing. Elara knelt down. My name is Elara. I work with the Orbital Passenger Authority. This is a pretty big airport to be wandering alone. Where are your parents? He blinked. You're from ... this timeline. Her brow furrowed. What? He hesitated, then looked around before stepping closer. I don't belong here. I was trying to get away. I think I made a mistake. The words sent a chill down her spine. You ran away from someone. No, he whispered. I ran away from a breach, a time rupture. The gate collapsed before I could recalibrate. They told me not to try it alone. He spoke with the seriousness of a scientist trapped in a child's body. Elara stood slowly, casting a glance around. No security, no one looking for him, and the boy who still hadn't given his name was visibly shaking. Okay, she said calmly. We'll figure this out. You don't have a tag, no ID chip. He shook his head. None that would register here. What's your name? Auron. She reached out her hand. All right, Auron. Let's go find someone who can help. But the moment her fingers brushed his, her tablet lit up in her jacket pocket by itself. Dozens of screens flashed in rapid succession. Elara yanked it out and saw lines of indecipherable code running vertically, faster than the eye could read. Her coffee cup exploded from the bench behind her, shattering in midair like it had been hit by a sonic pulse. People turned and stared. Alarms didn't go off, but her instincts screamed. Auron's voice was calm now. They'll be coming soon. Not your police. Temporal agents. They can track energy spikes. What the hell are you? Elara whispered. The boy looked at her with tired eyes, far too old for his face. Just a mistake in time, but I think you were meant to find me. Elara didn't know whether to run or hide. She gripped Auron's hand tightly as they slipped into a quiet maintenance corridor behind a row of vending machines. The hum of the main terminal faded as the lights dimmed in the narrow hallway. Pipes lined the ceiling, and the walls were marked with caution stickers in outdated Earth dialects. This section hadn't been upgraded in years, perfect for staying. Hidden Kaya was still asleep on the bench back at Gate 47. Elara's heart twisted, but she had no time to weigh options. Whatever Auron was, He was in danger and, by extension, so was everyone around him. She stopped beside a closed door labeled Sector 1 to be authorized personnel only, and entered an old clearance code from her engineering days. To her surprise, the lock disengaged with a low click. She ushered Auron inside. The room was small, a forgotten security station with flickering monitors and a dusty console. Elara sealed the door behind them and turned to face the boy, who now stood with his back straight, scanning the room like a trained operative. "Okay," she said, kneeling to meet his gaze. "I need the truth, all of it, right now." Auron hesitated, then nodded. "I'm not from this time. I'm from the year 2437. I wasn't supposed to be here. Not yet." Elara blinked. "You're from the future." He nodded again. "My father owns Chronocorp. They developed technology to manipulate time's small windows, not full travel. But a faction time drifters sabotaged our systems. I was with my father in one of the safe zones when the breach happened. I ran, thinking I could hide by jumping into the past, but I miscalculated. I ended up here." Elara sat down heavily, on a cracked chair. "Time travel's illegal. Every nation agreed after the event treaty." Auron tilted his head. "Your era banned it. Ours broke the rules. Why come here? Why not go back to your own time?" "I was trying to, but time travel isn't like flying a ship. You can't steer it the way you think. There's inertia, gravitational pulls, timelines overlapping. Once you're displaced, the universe tries to correct the error. And what happens when it can't?" she asked. He glanced at the monitors, some of which began flickering to life, despite the room having no power. "You create tears, fluctuations, glitches." Elara narrowed her eyes. "Like my tablet going haywire, the coffee cup exploding." He nodded. "You were too close when I arrived. That makes you part of the anomaly now." Her breath caught. "Excuse me, you touched me during a temporal spike. It marked you. They'll be able to trace you through echo residue." Elara stood and paced. "You mean the temporal agents you mentioned?" "Chronocorp has a security team that tracks timeline violations, but time drifters have their own hunters. Neither side cares about bystanders, so I'm a target now. My daughter, too." Auron looked away. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to pull anyone into this." Elara placed a hand on his shoulder. "You're a child. This isn't your fault." A loud screech echoed through the corridor, metal grinding against metal. Elara instinctively killed the room lights. The monitor screens turned black except one, which glitched into static before displaying a brief image, a shadowed figure in a sleek suit scanning the terminal. "No badge, no ID. Auron whispered. "That's not one of ours. That's a drift. Hunter." She didn't know how she'd ended up in a war across centuries, but one thing was clear: Auron had no one in this time, and she couldn't leave a scared child to be hunted by ghosts from the future. She took a deep breath. "We're getting Kaya and getting out of here. I've broken into more dangerous places than an airport hangar. We'll find a way." Auron looked at her with something she hadn't seen before. "Hope. You're different from what I expected." Elara smirked. "Welcome to the 21st century, kid. We don't do quiet rescues." Elara moved swiftly through the dim corridors of Earthport Central, with Auron beside her, keeping close to the walls and security blind spots. She'd memorized the station's infrastructure years ago, when she worked as an orbital systems tech bee, for everything fell apart. Before she'd been left alone with Kaya and a shattered career. Now those obsolete schematics in her head were the only reason they hadn't already been caught. The terminal was changing, subtly, but unmistakably. The air had a strange static to it, as though every molecule was being rewound and played forward at the same time. Digital signs flickered, between English and symbols that Elara didn't recognize. The gravity felt just slightly off, the way it does before a heavy storm or before something unnatural pushes through space-time. She ducked behind a service pillar and peeked around. Kaya was still asleep, miraculously undisturbed, curled up under her thermal blanket. But there were people near the gate, now 3 of them standing, 2 still, 2 quiet. Each wore black suits that shimmered faintly like the surface of oil. Their eyes glowed a faint violet, and they were scanning the terminal with thin, wrist-mounted devices that emitted pulses of light invisible to most passengers. Auron grabbed Elara's sleeve and whispered, "They're drift hunters. They smell anomalies. If we get too close, they'll feel the ripple you carry." "You make it sound like I'm radioactive," she muttered. "In temporal terms, you are." Elara thought fast. She couldn't just run in, grab Kaya, and bolt. The moment she stepped into the open, those hunters would converge, and she knew enough about security response times to guess they'd be gone before any Earthport security even realized something was wrong. She tapped into the access panel on the side of the terminal wall. It was meant for janitorial route bots, but she rerouted it to link with the terminal's central service grid. Password expired. She rerouted using a back-end logic exploit she'd discovered during her engineering days. The screen lit up. Maintenance control override. She found Kaya's location on the internal surveillance network. The bench she was on had a floor panel, underneath a direct maintenance duct, leading 2 levels down. It would be cramped, but navigable. Auron peered over her shoulder. "You're good. I used to design these systems," Elara whispered, "before they outsourced everything to AI. Ironic. That's what started the temporal wars." She gave him a dry look. "Let's save the philosophy lesson for later." She activated the lift plate under Kaya's bench. With a silent hiss, it began to slide open. One of the hunters turned slightly, sensing movement, but the opening was minimal. Auron tapped a sequence into the nearby console. A fake alert appeared across the upper terminals. Gate 12 suspicious package detected. Evacuate all non-staff personnel. Panic rippled across the terminal. People stood, muttered, looked around in confusion. The hunters froze, momentarily distracted. "Now," Elara said. She sprinted into the open and dropped beside Kaya, gently shaking her awake. "Baby, it's Mama. We have to go." Kaya blinked, startled. "But no questions," Elara whispered. "Just hold tight to me, okay?" Kaya nodded sleepily, trusting without understanding. Elara slipped both herself and her daughter into the narrow access tunnel. Followed by Auron, who sealed the plate behind them, they descended into darkness. The world above now humming with tension. Crawling through the cramped duct, Elara's mind raced. They were running from enemies who didn't exist in official records. Hunted for a crime she didn't understand. Branded by touching a boy who didn't belong in this century. And every second they stayed, the ripples grew stronger. But deep down, a flicker of something old stirred inside Hertha. Instinct of a fighter. She didn't know how this story would end. But she knew one thing. They weren't going to lose. The maintenance tunnel spit them out into an abandoned cargo bay beneath the main terminal. The vast room was silent, except for the faint hum of electromagnetic shielding overhead. Crates labeled with outdated logos stood like forgotten relics from another era, wrapped in dust and time. Elara crouched low, her arms wrapped protectively around Kaya, who clung to her, now wide awake and trembling. Auron stood nearby, peering at the ceiling, as if sensing something beyond the material. "They're still searching," he murmured. "But they're triangulating. Fast. I won't be able to mask us for long." Elara pressed her back against a rusting container. "Then we need another way out. The shuttle bays." Auron shook his head. "Too exposed. They'll lock those down first." Kaya looked up, eyes wide. "Mama, is this about that boy? Is he like an alien?" Auron gave a faint smile. "Something like that." Before Elara could answer, the ground beneath them began to tremble low, like a distant earthquake or the birth of a storm. The lights overhead dimmed, then pulsed unnaturally. Sparks danced along the bay walls. Then it happened. A low-frequency hum filled the air, warping it like heat waves over asphalt. From the center of the cargo bay, a vertical slash appeared in the air, pure light and distortion. It tore wider, with a crackling roar, until a portal, sleek and smooth-edged, shimmered into place. The air stank of ozone and static. From within the rift, a sleek spacecraft emerged, black metal, shaped like a blade, and silent as death. Auron took a step back. It's him. The ship touched down without a sound. The portal sealed behind it, closing with a thundering boom that echoed across the room like thunder after lightning. The side of the ship slid open, revealing a tall man in a tailored dark suit woven with shimmering threads of living code. His eyes were pale gold, his presence like gravity itself, impossible to ignore. Elara instinctively stepped in front of Kaya and Auron. The man raised his hands. "Peace, I mean no harm." Auron's voice cracked. "Father." The man's expression impossibly poised broke for a moment. His jaw clenched. "Auron, thank the Corps. I thought I'd lost you." The boy ran to him, wrapping his arms tightly around his waist. For a moment, all the danger, all the tension, faded. Elara lowered her defenses slightly, though her instincts remained coiled like springs. The man looked up at her. "You helped him. You protected him. You have no idea what that means." "I might have a few ideas," she said coolly, "like getting marked by time, hunted by invisible agents, and nearly losing my daughter." He nodded solemnly. "I'm Xavier Draxon, CEO of Chronocorp and father who should have done better. My enemies sabotaged our gate network." Auron activated a fractured node and vanished. "We've been searching across time sectors ever since. So now what?" she asked. "You just open a fancy portal, collect your son, and vanish." Xavier studied her. "I can offer more than gratitude. You've proven yourself far beyond anything I expected from someone of this timeline. I reviewed the anomaly logs. You handled a level 6 time breach without panic or corruption. That's rare. I want to offer you and your daughter something unprecedented." Kaya peeked out from behind Elara, curiosity overcoming fear. Xavier continued. "Come with us. To the future. Live in a time where your skills are valued. Your daughter's safe. You've seen too much to return to a normal life." Elara glanced down at Kaya. Her daughter looked back with wide, wondering eyes. "Mama, can we?" She looked at Auron, who stood beside his father now, his fear finally fading. He didn't answer right away, but a strange calm settled in her chest. A fork in the road had appeared Dan for the first time in years. The unknown looked like hope. The decision weighed on Elara's shoulders, like a planet's gravity. She stood silently in the cargo bay, surrounded by flickering light panels and crates filled with obsolete tech. A portal to the future had just opened. Literally, and now, she was being offered something most people only dreamed about. A chance to leave her struggling life behind and step into an era of limitless possibility. But possibilities came with consequences. Kaya clung to her hand, eyes wide with awe, as she stared at Xavier's ship. Auron, now reunited with his father, stood a few steps ahead, watching Elara carefully as if her decision mattered more than even the rescue. Xavier spoke. Again, gently, but firmly. "This isn't just an escape, Elara. It's a beginning. The future has its dangers, yes. But I've seen what you can do under pressure. You were meant for more than delays, terminals, and synth coffee." Elara smirked at the comment, then sighed. "You're offering me, what exactly?" "A place on my temporal ethics council," he said. "Chronocorp governs timeline integrity. We need people like you minds who can adapt, question, and empathize. Your engineering background, your instincts, they're rare, and Kaya would have access to our best education, medical care, and protection." Her heart jumped. The idea of Kaya never having to worry about credits, boarding school placements, or second-hand spacesuit sits sounded unreal. Almost too good to believe. And yet, the sincerity in Zaviel's voice, the way he spoke, not like a recruiter, but a father who'd seen loss, anchored it in truth. But what happens to the life I leave behind? She asked. Won't people notice I'm gone? Zaviel nodded. Your disappearance would be covered. It's a minor timeline ripple, already being managed. You'll be listed as one of thousands missing in a low-orbit travel mishap. No harm to the timeline, no memories left behind. Auron stepped forward. I want her there. She didn't run when she saw what I was. She didn't give me up. People like that don't exist where we come from. We need her. Elara looked between them and then down at Kaya, who simply said, I trust you, Mama. And that was it. Elara took a deep breath, her pulse pounding like a launch countdown. All right, she said. We go. Zaviel smiled, the faintest relief showing in his eyes. He pressed a control on his wristband. A soft tone echoed through the chamber, and the ramp to his ship lowered completely. The interior glowed with soft, calming light, like sunrise over metal, as they stepped aboard. The ship's AI spoke in a language Elara didn't recognize, but instinctively understood a strange comfort that wrapped around her like a warm blanket. The interior of the ship was unlike anything she'd ever seen. Walls displaying shifting starscapes, anti-grav corridors, and living surfaces that adjusted to temperature and mood. Kaya's face lit up with wonder. Auron led them to the observation deck, where an enormous curved window revealed the rift in space, still swirling gently ahead. Zaviel stood at the console and gave a single command, return. Anchor year 2437, Sector Prime. The portal shimmered to life again, and the ship moved forward. Elara took one last look at the station disappearing behind them. The dim lights of Earthport Central faded from view as the vortex opened wider, colors she'd never imagined swirling past them. She felt fear and hope and freedom. Kaya curled up beside her in the reclined seat, gripping her hand. Are we going far, Mama? She asked. Elara kissed her forehead and smiled. Farther than ever before, but we're going together. As the rift closed behind them, sealing off the past, the future opened before them like a new galaxy, bright, unknown, and full of promise.